Flirt Like a Pro. How to be an irresistible flirt, create intense sexual tension, and make women go weak at the knees. By Dominic Mann. Introduction. Flirting is essential to getting the girl. If you can't flirt or don't flirt, she'll see you as a just friends guy. There will zero sexual tension and zero attraction. Not what you want. Flirting is the difference between friendly conversation and sexy conversation. The difference between her seeing you as friend zone material and her going weak at the knees for you. The power of flirting is aptly summed up in a quote from the television series Mad Men. You gotta let them know what kind of guy you are, then they'll know what kind of girl to be. In other words, are you a friendly nice guy or a sexual man? Are you friend zone material or lover material? Now, if you're reading this book, you're probably a rather clumsy flirt. Or maybe you don't know how to flirt at all. But that's okay, because despite seeming like an impossible concept to grasp, you just flirt, right? What the heck does that even mean? What are you supposed to do? Flirting is actually quite simple. Once you get the surprisingly simple core techniques down pat, flirting is not only easy, but fun. So, without further ado, let's dive right in and turn you into an irresistible flirt. What the flirt? What is flirting? What is flirting? A good place to find an answer to this question would be the dictionary. Flirt. Verb. 1. Behave as though sexually attracted to someone, but playfully, rather than with serious intentions. She began to tease him, flirting with other men in front of him. From this definition, there is one word that is particularly important. Want to guess? Here it is. Playfully. Flirting is playful. It's lighthearted and fun, not serious and somber. It's playful and subtle, not direct and blunt. In a moment, we'll take a look at the most common mistakes men make when flirting. For now, let's explore the purpose of flirting. Why flirt? Why flirt? To answer this question, let's take a look at an example of a conversation where there is zero flirtation. Guy. Where are you from? Girl. Melbourne. Guy. Australia? Wow. So you managed to survive all the deadly animals? Girl. Yeah. Laughs. Guy. Nah, seriously though. I've heard it's one of the world's most livable cities or something. Why'd you move? Girl. Yeah, it's a pretty great place to live. I moved because blah, blah, blah. And the conversation continues. Notice the problem? In case you didn't, here's the answer. The conversation is entirely platonic. There are no sexual undertones whatsoever. For all we know, it could be two guys talking. To put it bluntly, the guy in the example conversation is going to be going home alone. At best, he goes home alone. At worst, he gets stuck in her friend zone. Note, the friend zone is worse because it's a total waste of time and leads nowhere. And so there you have it, the answer to why flirting is an essential component of seduction. It gets her imagining the two of you together romantically and makes it clear in her mind that you're a sexual man, not a just friends kind of guy. Okay, so if flirting is essential to getting women to see you as a man, to have sex with and not a friend, then why are most guys terrible at flirting? Let's take a look at the most common mistakes made by almost all men. Why most men suck at flirting. The guys who avoid the mistake of not flirting at all, and thus ending up as just friends, almost always end up making one of the following mistakes. Fortunately for you, this means that as you develop your flirting skills, you'll have an added advantage when it comes to seducing the ladies. Anyway, here are the most common mistakes guys make when flirting. They're too obvious. When it comes to flirting, many guys are just way too obvious. Why is this a problem? It sucks the mystery out of the interaction. And along with that, mystery goes excitement. Intrigue is fun, but being obvious kills it. Here's an example of clumsy, obvious flirting. Girl. I love sports bras. Guy. I bet you'd look amazing in a sports bra. Too obvious. So what should flirting look like instead? Well, as you'll discover in the next chapter, great flirting is far more subtle. It's done through implication rather than stating things outright. It leaves more mystery and intrigue, more for women to guess about. They're too direct. Being overly direct also kills the excitement of intrigue. For example, this is why it is generally unwise to compliment women based on their physical looks. E.g., you have gorgeous eyes, or wow, aren't you a stunner? Or are you a model? Aside from making it seem as though you've never been with an attractive woman before, an unattractive trait in and of itself, you kill any mystery there might have been about your intentions. On top of that, being too direct sexually, e.g., I'm going to fuck you so hard later, eliminates a woman's ability to absolve herself of feelings of sluttiness by reasoning that sex just happened. Women have been socialized to feel shame and fear about being perceived by either herself, her friends, or even just society at large as slutty or sexually promiscuous. So when you're too direct with a woman you've only recently met and make it clear you're going to bang her, most women bring up some excuse or just disappear. You can think of this as their anti-slut defense. What you need to do instead is give her a way to rationalize sex as something that just happened, plausible deniability. For example, I've got this awesome pool table at my place, we'll go play around. While you and her both know what's going to happen, hint, it starts with an F and ends with a K. This example gives her a way to rationalize it away. She can tell herself that she's just going back to your place to have some fun and see what happens rather than that she's going to your place to have sex with you, which would leave her feeling dirty and slutty. Anyway, so what's the lesson? Don't be so direct. They use friendly banter rather than sexual flirting. If you have a group of male friends, you guys probably banter a lot. However, unless you're gay, which you're probably not if you're reading this book, the banter isn't going to have any sexual undertones. Unfortunately for many guys, they use this same kind of non-sexual banter when attempting to flirt. For an example of the difference between friendly and sexual nonverbal flirting, consider the difference between giving a girl a high 5-inch versus holding hands. One is non-sexual, the other unmistakably sexual. Unfortunately, most guys take the less risky route rather than making a bold, risky move. This leaves interactions they have with girls with no sort of sexual undertone. Moving on, here's how to avoid these mistakes and become an irresistible flirt. 6 steps to becoming an irresistible flirt. The number 1 key to flirting is subtlety. Earlier, we talked about a mistake that most guys make when flirting, being too obvious. The solution? Be subtle. And how does one be subtle? Simple. Take your blunt, clumsy, overly direct attempt at flirting and make it indirect. Remember this clumsy, overly direct example from earlier? Girl, I love sports bras. Guy, I bet you'd look amazing in a sports bra. Now, let's make this overly direct attempt at flirting more subtle by making it indirect. Girl, I love sports bras. Guy, really? Well, believe it or not, I love girls who love sports bras. See how that works? In both examples, the guy is saying that he likes the girl. The difference is that in the second example, he says it indirectly. It's more subtle because he implies attraction. He doesn't reveal all his cards. Implying you like a girl or want to have sex with her is far more exciting to women than simply saying, hey, let's fuck. In addition to creating excitement through intrigue, you demonstrate that you're a guy with standards. You don't just chase after anything with it, skirt. But when you're overly direct and stumble over your words, you come across as a guy drools over anything with 2 legs and long hair. But by deftly weaving your intentions behind a veil of subtlety and implication, you not only create excitement through mystery, but you come across as a high-value guy she should want to be with. Speaking of being a high-value guy, this brings us to the next method of flirting. Agree and amplify. When you're interacting with high-quality women, or any women, for that matter, but attractive women in particular do this, you'll get tested. Women test you in an attempt to ruffle your feathers and put you off balance. If you demonstrate you give 0 fucks, you pass the test and her attraction for you grows. If you get all insecure and defensive, trying to justify yourself, you fail the test and her attraction for you wanes. A woman's tests generally come in the form of a snide remark, off-putting question, or the asking of an unnecessary favor. Here's some examples. I bet you use that line on all the girls. How many women have you slept with? Buy me a drink. The easiest way to pass these tests is to agree and amplify. What does that mean? Agree with what she says and exaggerate it to the point of it being absurd. Here are examples of agreeing and amplifying the above tests. Girl, I bet you use that line on all the girls. Guy, yeah, I literally wake up every morning with a bed full of women. It's that damn effective. Girl, how many women have you slept with? Guy, what, today? Not many. Girl, buy me a drink. Guy, sure. Would you like my ATM pin, too? Moving on, let's take a look at a flirting technique that I personally find quite fun. Act like you're the prize. Most hot women know that they are the prize. They have dozens, if not hundreds, of guys hit on them every day. But guess what? You can flip this whole boys chase girls dynamic on its head. How? By insinuating that she is the one chasing you, that she's just another girl who's hitting on you and trying to seduce you. You frame the conversation as if she's the pursuer and you're just an innocent victim of her incessant attempts at seducing you. How do you do this? You frame her as the pursuer while positioning yourself as the prize, by playfully twisting her words and actions to make it like she's hitting on you, attempting to seduce you, and trying to turn you on. Here are some examples. Girl, I love sports bras. Guy, don't try to make me think of you in a sports bra. Girl, want to grab another drink? Guy, oh, I see how it is. Trying to get me drunk so you can take advantage of me? Girl, inadvertently staring at you while thinking about something. Guy, are you trying to seduce me? Guy, I live just around the corner. We can go and grab a drink at my place, but only if you promise to not try anything. Girl, massages are awesome. Guy, think you can seduce me by offering me free massages? Girl, no. Guy, good, because it won't work. Moving on, let's take a look at a method of flirting that puts her on a roller coaster ride of emotions and makes her all that more into you. Push-pull. Push-pull flirting involves, as the name suggests, pushing her away, either physically, verbally, or both, and pulling her back in. For example, Guy, you're too cute for me to handle. Shoo. Playful shove. He both pulls her in emotionally by suggesting that he thinks she's cute, but he also pushes her away. This contradiction creates excitement. Here's another push-pull example. Guy, you're awesome. You're like my little sister. He pulls her in by telling her she's awesome, but then he says that she's like his little sister, which is a bit of a push because, well, what? Guy is attracted to women that remind him of his little sister? This up and down, push and pull, creates intrigue and excitement, which gets the girl more invested in the interaction. In addition to that, push-pull also demonstrates you're a high-value guy. For example, imagine you met this gorgeous girl who seems to be just your type. She's funny, charming, and intelligent, not to mention hot as hell. Now, imagine she just throws herself at your feet. She's way too easy. Because of this, you're probably going to rethink your initial impression. You'll be like, wait, I thought this was a high-quality woman? Why is she just throwing herself at me? There's no challenge whatsoever. Women are no different. This is one of the reasons they walk all over. Needy, nice guys who buy her drinks and worship the ground she walks on, while chasing after jerks and bad boys who treat her like shit. As Thomas Paine said, what we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Push-pull flirting demonstrates that you're a high-value guy. Moving on. Role-playing. Role-playing is not only great fun, but it can help to create sexual tension between the two of you by accentuating the masculine and feminine dynamic. You do this by taking on the masculine/authority role and her taking on the feminine/petite/submissive role. For example, you could pretend to be a school headmaster and framing her as a naughty little schoolgirl. Or you could role-play as a policeman, her boss, or some other such role. 4. Example. Guy, that was very naughty. I'm going to have to give you an after school detention for that. Moving on, let's take a look at the final step to great flirting. Flirtatious nonverbals. In case you forgot, flirting is playful. If you come off as too serious, you'll be seen as awkward at best and creepy at worst. This begs the question, how do you avoid coming off as creepy? How do you maintain a light, playful, fun vibe? Here's how. By mastering your nonverbals. When flirting, it's a good idea to smile, not a big goofy smile, but at least a small one. Keep good eye contact and just overall keep a fun vibe. That lets her know you're being playful. You can also touch her forearm or shoulder as a way of signaling that you're just messing with her, i.e. flirting. Your tone of voice can also be used to nonverbally communicate playfulness as opposed to seriousness. So in sum, use your tone of voice, facial expression, i.e. smile, eye contact, and touch to keep the vibe fun and playful and avoid coming off too serious and thus awkward/creepy. Think sexy. What on earth does your mindset, the way you think, have to do with flirting? Surprisingly, a whole lot more than you might at first think. So let's take a look at the 4 components to a mindset that not only helps make you an irresistible flirt, but also just makes you sexier in general. First up, takes charge. The price of greatness is responsibility. Winston Churchill. Why is it important to take charge? Because you're the guy. If you don't do anything, nothing happens. Feminine women rarely make a move of their own accord. Because you're the man, you need to approach a woman, create conversation, get her number, set up a date, and take her to bed. You're responsible for it all, the entire interaction. As such, cultivating a mindset of responsibility and taking charge is essential because it is literally your responsibility to make something happen between you and a girl. Lesson: take charge of the interaction. Lead rather than follow. Give 0 fucks. We are unhappy because we think that love is something we require from someone else. Arthur Japin. Giving 0 fucks is just another way of saying that you have 0 neediness. You don't seek or need the approval of others. You're completely confident in yourself and don't need anyone or anything else to feel good about yourself. Now, you might be about to say, but I'm not needy. And yes, I'm sure that you don't get jealous easily and that you've never secretly scrolled through a girlfriend's texts. But these are things done only by massively needy and insecure people. Neediness can be far more subtle. For example, you might be talking to an attractive girl and you attempt to drop hints into the conversation about how much you earn. Subtle brags. Now, ask yourself this. What does this imply? If you're not sure, here's the answer to that question. It implies that you feel you're not good enough for her, and so you're attempting to compensate for this perceived inadequacy by bragging or hinting at how much you earn. Makes sense, right? Now ask yourself this. Why would a woman want a guy who constantly feels the need to try and impress her? Hint, she wouldn't. She can sense the insecurity and it ain't attractive. Another subtle indicator of neediness is making a woman, or just the pursuit of women in general, the center of your life. It's a surefire sign of neediness, and women find it highly unattractive. Women want men who do not make women or a woman their main purpose. Lesson: don't be needy. Don't try to seek the approval of others. Don't make a woman your main purpose, and never ever brag or seek to impress a woman. Is a man with a mission, and not only has a mission, but actively and aggressively pursues it. Imagine a young Steve Jobs building Apple, or the rapper 50 Cent, aggressively pursuing his passion, or Julius Caesar building an empire. Do you think such men give 2 craps about having a bad conversation or a girl rejecting them? Of course not. Men with a higher purpose, a mission, don't depend on women's approval. Women are not their #1 priority. They don't make women their life. Women are just an accessory to their life. And, ironically, this makes them all the more attractive. Moreover, the lack of desperation comes through in your conversations and the way you flirt with women, and women can sense it. Lesson: don't make women the center of your life. Aggressively pursue a mission outside of your dating life. Assume the sale. I'm sexy and I know it. Red foo. In sales, you learn to assume the sale, as it increases your odds of closing a prospect. Funnily enough, it's the exact same when it comes to sealing the deal with women. When you assume that all women are attracted to you until proven otherwise, that is, you start acting like it. And because of this, you end up actually escalating the interaction faster, getting more physical, flirting more, taking charge and leading women, tossing out sexual innuendos, and overall putting yourself in a better position to succeed. Lesson: act as if all women are attracted to you. Interact with women as if they want you so bad. Assume the sale and, more often than not, you'll seal the deal. Summary: 1. Take charge. 2. Eliminate neediness. 3. Have a mission other than the pursuit of women. 4. Act as if all women are super attracted to you. How to use conversation to establish a deep connection with her. In the previous chapter, we briefly touched on the importance of injecting emotion into your conversations with women. In this chapter, we'll touch on 4 key conversation topics that will allow you to connect with her on a deeper, more emotional level. Let's get to it. Here are some of the strongest emotional topics you'll want to go to when creating a deep emotional connection with a woman you're having a conversation with. Connecting topic number 1. Experiences. Our experiences are deeply tied to emotion. Whether childhood, travel experiences, quitting a job and pursuing a risky new career path, or anything else of the sort, our experiences are tied to emotions. Here are some examples of ways you can get her to open up about some of her experiences. What was it that made you want to move to this city? What big adventures have you been on? What's the most exciting place you've traveled to? Talking to her about experiences she's had often lead to amazing stories and heaps of emotion. But more importantly than that, diving into the emotions behind her experiences opens up unique ways for you and her to relate to each other. Here are some examples of how you might dive more into the emotion behind such experiences. How did it feel to do X? What was it like when you did X? When it comes to relating to her experiences, you need not fear not having done the exact same things as her. Once you dive deeper and get her opening up about how she felt about certain experiences, you can relate to her with different experiences that caused you to feel similar emotions. So, for example, she might say that she quit her corporate job and became a tourist guide on some tropical island. When you dive deeper, she'll probably reveal that she felt anxious and worried about whether or not it'd all work out for the best, whether she'd regret it all as a big mistake and wish she stuck with her corporate job. Now, you might have never done anything similar, but you've probably been in a situation where you felt similar emotions. For example, you might have moved from another country, started a business, or something or the sort. As such, you can relate to her on an emotional level. That said, don't endlessly drone on about your own experiences. Briefly relate it to an experience you've had in your own life, if applicable, and then flip the spotlight back on her. This lets her know that you get her, and that you're actually listening and taking interest, and that, heck, you guys are kind of similar in some ways. But at the same time, you avoid being virtually silent the whole conversation and having her start doubting that you're even paying attention what she has to say or that you get her. Moving on from the past experiences, the next emotional topic is based in the present. Connecting topic number 2, passions. What are your passions? What do you love doing? Scuba diving? Building businesses? Tinkering in the garage? Traveling? Tackling innovative engineering projects at work? Whatever it is, I want you to think about it for a moment. Seriously, stop reading and just think of whatever it is you love to do, even if just for a second. Now that you've thought about that, how do you feel? How do you feel when you think about whatever it is you love to do? Probably pretty good, right? Well, women are no different. When you get them talking about whatever it is they love to do, their passions, they associate those positive feelings with being around you. Here are some examples of ways you can get her talking about her passions. What do you really love doing? What sort of activities get you really excited? What are you super passionate about? And again, you can of course dive into the emotions behind her passions. Here are a couple of examples of how you might do that. What is it about X you love? How do you feel when doing X? Why are you passionate about X? Once you get her talking about her passions, you might find that you can relate and thus connect with her, especially if you both love to do the same sorts of things. Note, don't pretend you love to do something if you don't. She'll easily be able to tell you're faking it, and it'll just come off as super needy, unattractive, and very off-putting. Moving on from the past experiences to the present passions, the next emotional topic relates to the future. Connecting topic number 3, aspirations, her goals, her hopes, her dreams. What does she want to do in life? People think about their dreams, but rarely get the chance to talk about them because most people don't think to ask. Getting her to open up about her aspirations brings up a whole bunch of positive, hopeful emotions, all of which she'll subconsciously associate with you. Here are some ways you can dive into this topic. What are your biggest goals? What sort of things have you always wanted to do? What are you aiming to achieve this year? Here are some ways you can dive into the feelings and emotions associated with her hopes and dreams. How would you feel if you did that? What would your life look like if you accomplished that slash? Moving on, we've talked about emotional conversation topics based on past, present, and future. Now, let's take a look at another emotional topic that's more internal. Connecting topic number 4, motivations. Why does she do what she does? What makes her want what she wants? What motivates her? The vast majority of guys never ever dig this deep. Here are some questions you can ask to dive into this topic. What made you go for that? i.e. her college major or career. Why do that? i.e. what made her do/choose something she did. Good question to ask if she's telling you a story, etc. You can dive even deeper with questions such as, how do you feel now that you're doing X? What made you want to accomplish X? It's all a balancing act. Earlier on in this book, you learn the best techniques for becoming an irresistible flirt. In this chapter, you've learned how to deeply connect with women on an emotional level. But perhaps the most difficult part is neither the flirting nor the connecting, but rather balancing the two. If all you do is flirt, she may enjoy it in the moment, but she'll probably end up flaking on you, or even just forgetting you altogether. There's no connection. On the other hand, if all you do is have deep conversations and connect emotionally, she'll see you as a just friends guy, and you'll end up her friend, not lover. Balance the two, so you create both sexual tension and emotional connection. Escalate, escalate, escalate. On the interwebs lives a funny little group called NoFap. As the name implies, these are men that abstain from pornography, masturbation, and self-administered orgasm. They refer to this as PMO for short. These so-called fapstronauts often claim that, for some reason, they find themselves succeeding more with women. I, for one, have a theory as to why that might be. Imagine you haven't orgasmed in days, weeks, or even months. You're gonna be a horny mofo, right? And when you're interacting with attractive women, you're going to be a lot more aggressive. You're not going to just sit around have a polite conversation. You're going to try, whether consciously or subconsciously, to take that woman to bed as soon as possible. Their very horniest makes them seduce women faster and more aggressively. Now, why on earth am I telling you this bizarre story? Here's why. I don't want you to make the mistake of failing to escalate the interaction. You can flirt with a woman endlessly and talk to her forever about a gazillion emotionally charged topics. But if you don't aggressively escalate the interaction and get physical, it will all be for naught. Lesson: don't just talk and flirt. Get physical, or at the very least, get her number and set up a time to grab a drink/coffee. Be bold, be brief, be gone. Don't linger around indefinitely without escalating the interaction. Summary: if you want to connect with women on a deep, emotional level, you can't go wrong with these 4 conversation topics. 1. Experiences. 2. Dreams. 3. Passions. 4. Motivations. At the same time, make sure to balance this with flirting so she doesn't categorize you as a just friends guy. Also make sure to not make the mistake of lingering around indefinitely without going for the close, i.e. getting her number or getting physical. One trick that makes you sexier, builds instant familiarity, and makes the conversation 10x more exciting. Most guys fail to properly connect with girls they meet. They get stuck asking her where she's from and what she thinks of the weather, failing to get past the small talk, delve deeper, and establish an emotional connection. Some guys do manage to get past the small talk, but then they get stuck in boring interview mode, just asking question after question, having more of an interview than an actual conversation. On top of that, they often unknowingly structure their questions so that they get little more than 3 or 4 word responses. Needless to say, such conversations lead nowhere. The girl either gets bored and excuses herself or categorizes the guy as a just friends guy, neither of which you want. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the guy who is a master flirt and can get virtually any woman all hot and bothered, but never manages to establish any form of emotional connection. As such, initial interest often fades and women flake on him. But fear not, my friend, for you're about to learn how to become a superstar conversationalist. Anyhow, let's start with the very cornerstone of conversing with women you've just met: how to not make her fall asleep. Most guys, perhaps you included, ask questions like the following: what's your job? Where are you from? What school did you go to? ZZZZZZ. Aside from being so boring, they're more potent than sleeping medication. There's one other issue with these questions. They require no more than 1 word to answer: accountant, Boston, Hogwarts. On top of that, with enough drinks, she could mistake herself for being in a job interview. So what's the solution? There are several remedies, so let's start with the easiest: how to get the most bang for your question. When you ask questions, dive a little deeper. Ask questions that require not a 1-word response, or worse yet, a mere yes or no, but a longer, deeper response. Aim for a paragraph, not 1 word. Not sure what I mean? Here's an example. Guy: do you like your job? Girl: yeah, it's cool. At minimum, you get 1 word, yes. At most, you get 3. Not looking good. Here's an example of how you might tweak it. Guy: why do you like your job? Girl: well, I really love blah blah blah. See the difference? It's also worth noting that women are emotional creatures, as opposed to us men who tend to be more logical. Consequently, you can never go wrong delving into the emotions behind things. Here's an example of a lost opportunity to establish an emotional connection with the woman. Girl: I'm a doctor. Guy: oh wow, long hours? Here's an example of a guy who seizes the opportunity and establishes an emotional connection. Girl: I'm a doctor. Guy: wow, what's it feel like to save somebody's life? Yes, the latter example is a little clunky, but you get the idea. Which question do you think is going to elicit a more emotionally charged response, to which the guy might be able to relate to an experience in which he felt similarly, create greater emotional intimacy, and get her associating the guy with powerful, positive emotions? I think the answer's pretty obvious. Lesson: ask open-ended questions and, ideally, delve into her emotions and motivations. Moving on, let's take a look at whether or not you should even be asking questions in the first place. Sounds stupid, but bear with me. Why statements are better than questions. Imagine if you could hack your conversations with pretty girls so that you sound dominant, confident, and bold, like an alpha male, if you will, and simultaneously have fun flirting and, at the same time, create a deep emotional connection and build an instant sense of familiarity. And yes, there's more still. Avoid the dreaded, not to mention, awkward and flat-out boring interview mode. Seem impossible? It's not. Behold, the awesome power of the statement. Statements, you ask? Yes. Despite seeming humble, the power of the almighty statement is not to be underestimated. To put an end to your disbelief, here is an example of a question. Guy, where are you from? Seems pretty, all right? Right? Here's an example of how one might turn that question into a statement. Guy, you look like a West Coast girl. Feel the difference? It sounds so much more confident and sexy. Furthermore, the question gets a one-word response, New Jersey. The second one is far more exciting. Here's a list of what happens you make a statement as opposed to a question. Statement versus question. 1. Fuels the conversation. If you guess wrong, she'll almost always demand to know why you guessed what you did. This gives you more to talk about and fuels the conversation. 2. She'll love hearing about herself. There's only one thing women love more than talking about themselves, and that's hearing others talk about her. Whether you guess right or wrong, she'll love hearing about what it is about her that made you guess what you did. 3. If you guess right, she'll think you're a genius. Well, not literally, but she'll be almighty impressed by your perceptiveness. 4. You seem very confident. When you speak in statements, women naturally perceive you to be more dominant, confident, and bold, all very attractive qualities. You seem like more of an alpha male. 5. Builds instant familiarity. When you've just met someone, you ask each other a lot of questions. When you've been friends or family with someone for years, you speak to each other mostly in statements. Thus, by speaking to her in statements, you trick her subconscious into feeling that you two have known each other for longer and are more familiar than you actually are. 6. Eliminates interview mode. Firstly, you're not asking questions, i.e. interviewing her in the first place. Secondly, when you guess things about her, that adds more fuel to the fire, giving you non-interview-wise stuff to talk about. So when it comes to questions versus statements, there's really no contest. To give you a clearer picture, here are some more examples. Question: what do you do? Statement: you look like an artsy type. I bet you're some sort of creative job. Question: want to go grab something to eat? Statement: you must be hungry. Let's go grab something to eat. Question: want to go for a walk? Statement: let's go for a walk. Feel the difference? The statements feel a lot more powerful and dominant. Meanwhile, the questions sound almost needy by comparison, as if you're seeking permission or are unsure of yourself. Lesson: turn questions into statements. You sound significantly more confident, dominant, and powerful. Statements can also add fuel to the conversation in terms of excitement and having more things to talk about. From dull questions to flirty statements. You don't need to stop there, though. So far, we've gone from dull questions to statements, but if we add a little more spice, we can go from dull questions to statements to flirty statements. Here's an example of a question, statement, and flirty statement. Question: what do you do? Statement: you look like an artsy type. I bet you're some sort of creative job. Flirty statement: let me guess, you must be a drug dealer / exotic dancer / astronaut / etc. Now, you don't want to always make out their guesses like dancer or drug dealer, or it'll get wearing and you'll come off like a clown. But you can inject a little extra spice into your statements every now and then to create excitement and elicit a funny back and forth. Lesson: every now and again, you can weave a totally absurd assumption into your statement to create some excitement. You could also imply something sexual to amp up the flirting and create some sexual tension. Sexy body language. As you're reading a book on conversing and flirting with women, you probably want to better be able to attract women. Perhaps women seem to lose interest in you as soon as you open your mouth. Perhaps you have no clue how to flirt, or perhaps you're prone to awkwardness. Whatever the reason, None of that matters if you don't have your nonverbals down pat. You can be the greatest conversationalist on earth, the world's most skilled flirt. But if you have unattractive body language, you'll come off as creepy. Moreover, studies show that body language has a direct effect on your state of mind, meaning that you can trick yourself into feeling super confident, making approaching attractive women a little easier for you. Anyway, let's take a look at how to have women thinking you're a sexy mofo before you even so much as open your mouth, as well as how to use nonverbal communication to make your flirting all that more seductive. So let's dive right into it, shall we? Body language basics. Fie upon her. There's language in her eye, her cheek, her lip, nay, her foot speaks. Her wanton spirits look out at every joint and motive of her body. William Shakespeare. Imagine an attractive woman. Imagine her sitting with her legs spread wide apart, man-spreading, if you will. Imagine her also having her hands clasped behind her head, elbows pointing outward. She also speaks in a rough, deep, manly voice. Not so attractive anymore, right? Why is that? Us guys are attracted to feminine women. The woman described above is displaying very masculine body language, which we are hardwired to find unsettling at best and highly unattractive at worst. Instead, us men would find feminine body language to be more attractive. Likewise, feminine women are attracted to masculine men. They instinctively find masculine body language attractive and feminine body language unattractive. When you sit with leg crossed over knee, like a woman, speak in a high-pitched voice, quickly dart your eyes downward instead of holding eye contact, walk in quick little steps, and so on, women find that highly unattractive. Men with feminine body language are to women what a big, hairy, muscled, deep-voiced lady would be to us men. That is, sexually repulsive. So what does masculine body language look like? James Bond and Marlon Brando. Expansive. Takes up plenty of space. Great posture. Slow and deliberate movement as opposed to quick, jerky, and uncontrolled. Deep. Voice, which is done by fully relaxing and breathing/speaking from your belly, not chest. Doesn't smile excessively. Swaggers about like a badass. And so on. In my opinion, the easiest way to start embodying masculine body language is to look up some clips of James Bond and or Marlon Brando and use these men as your body language role models. Perhaps the best way to develop sexy, masculine body language is to get a body language role model and emulate them. I'd suggest either James Bond or Marlon Brando or both as good ones to start with. When flirting, you want to lean back and demonstrate that you're totally relaxed and at ease. No fidgeting, no pecking, constantly leaning in and back out. Again, to hear what she's saying, making yourself look like a bird pecking at food. Instead, make sure your movements are calm and controlled. By displaying strong, masculine body language, you come across as and feel more confident, helping to make your flirting a lot more effective. Lesson: have open, expansive body language. The easiest way to do this is to emulate James Bond's body language. Feminine body language will, at best, make you highly unattractive to women and, at worst, make you sexually repulsive. So make sure that your body language is always masculine. You want your body language to mimic that of James Bond, not some flamboyant homosexual. Conclusion: here is a quick recap of all the main flirting tips, tricks, and techniques discussed in this book. Flirting lesson number 1. Flirting is subtle. If you're too obvious or direct, it's not flirting, it's creepy. You must playfully imply attraction, rather than outright say it. Create mystery, be vague, imply rather than state. And most importantly, be playful. Flirting lesson number 2. Know the difference between sexual flirting and friendly banter. Flirting is not the same as the fun, friendly banter you have with your guy friends. Flirting is far more sexual, not directly sexual, as stated above, but indirect. If you banter with her in a friendly way, you'll more likely than not end up in the friend zone. So make sure to playfully weave in sexual undertones. Flirting lesson number 3, agree and amplify. When women shit test you, such as by making a snide comment, asking an uncomfortable question, or poking and prodding for potential insecurities of yours, just agree and amplify whatever she says. For lots of examples, refer back to the appropriate section in the book. Flirting lesson number 4, act like you're the prize. This is a really fun and playful way of flirting. Simply reframe the conversation, or any of her actions, as if she is the one chasing after and trying to seduce you. 4. Lots of examples, refer back to the appropriate section in the book. Flirting lesson number 5, push-pull, role-play, and nonverbal flirting. Take her on an emotional roller coaster by playfully pushing her away, either emotionally, physically, or both, and then pulling her back in. Push, pull, push, 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 pull. Also playfully set up role-play situations where you play the masculine role and her the feminine. Finally, don't forget the importance of nonverbals when it comes to flirting. Flirting lesson number 6, have a masculine mindset. This is perhaps one of the most important aspects of flirting, because from your mindset comes all else. Specifically though, take charge of situations. No, what do you want to do? Nonsense. Cultivate a gives zero fucks attitude and find and aggressively pursue a mission that has nothing to do with women. These might seem to have nothing to do with flirting, but trust me, women, pick up on guys with a strong, masculine mindset and they find it irresistible. Flirting lesson number 7, balance flirting with establishing an emotional connection. While you don't want to be the guy who gets friend-zoned because he only talked about platonic topics, you also don't want to make the mistake of only flirting without establishing any real connection. Build this connection by talking about such topics as her experiences, passions, aspirations, and motivations. Just make sure to balance it with plenty of playful, sexual flirting. Flirting lesson number 8, always be escalating. Don't just be 100% platonic and then think you can go for the kiss at the end of the night. It doesn't work that way. You need to slowly boil her, like a frog in a pot of water. Build up gradually by continuously escalating, both physically and verbally. Flirting lesson number 9, don't ask questions, make statements. Statements make you sound 10x more confident and dominant, both of which are super sexy traits to women. Statements also build an instant sense of familiarity, as if you've known each other longer than you really have. Finally, statements often force you to make guesses about her, which you can either turn into jokes by exaggerating or add fire to the conversation by having her ask you what it was about her that made you guess what you did, and or impressing her with your perceptiveness. All around, statements are far sexier than questions. So don't ask questions, make statements. Flirting lesson number 10, cultivate sexy body language. Do this by cultivating masculine body language, dominant, confident body language. Make sure to always have body language that is open and expansive. Don't be afraid to sit/stand tall and take up lots of space. Man spread as much as you like. Lean back confidently, rest an arm on the back of the chair next to you, and so on. Have strong, masculine body language, not weak and effeminate body language. Whenever you find yourself in need of a quick refresher on the basics of flirting, quickly review the techniques in these summary points and get on your way. Now all you need to do is put this book down and get going. Good luck.